like to do the reading. The reading is from John chapter 1. And if you know John chapter 1, it talks about, in the beginning, it talks about the character of Jesus, right? It says, I'll read it like this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Verse 9. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. That's the reading. And the reason why this chapter of John is important is because we know what Jesus did. We know what Jesus did for humanity. We know him because of our state of salvation, because of what we needed. But this chapter talks about, it describes who he is in essence. Not for what he did, but who he is in essence, right? His identity. It talks about his identity. He's the Word. The Word that is with God. He is God himself. That through which everything in the world was created. The essence of everything. But the most impressive, the most important lesson of Christmas is that divinity, that essence of the whole universe, of everything, can pierce into our own world, into our humanity. That's the importance of Christ being born. The wise men came from so far away to see God in the flesh, to see the Word made in the flesh, to see perfection as a human being. And that, seeing that, knowing that that's possible, opens up a whole world of possibilities. Let me compare it. Let me compare it to things that we can relate to in our lifetime. When man first landed on the moon, before that, it was inconceivable. It was probably thought impossible to do something like that. And when it happened, when something impossible became possible, your mind just goes crazy about what else can happen, what else can we do? If we can land on the moon, think of all the other things that we can do. When you make your first touchdown, if you ever joined a high school team or a college team, and you make your first touchdown, doing that thing first, that's evidence. You get evidence that you have the capability, that you have the capacity to succeed. I remember when I was younger, I'm gonna try to say it in a tone that doesn't sound like bragging, but I was in high school, right? And I've had girlfriends before, but I've never asked a girl out. They asked me. Thank you. But I remember the first time I said, you know what? I'm gonna try doing this thing. And I don't know if it's gonna work. But the first time I did it and it worked, I was amazed because it was the first time I had done something like that. And it just opened up a whole new world of possibilities. It's the first time you make something, the first time you succeed in something. That becomes evidence of everything else that can happen. And if you can think of a situation in your life in which that was true for you, in which first you thought something was impossible, but then you had evidence that something is possible. It didn't have to be great. The birth of Jesus was humble and small, but it was an inkling. It was a little bit of evidence to show that God can live among us, that God can be with us. That's why the birth of Jesus is so amazing. Because even though it's so humble, so small, it says a lot. That's the first thing that we get. Second thing is this. We've had God. Throughout the history of the Bible, we've had God live among us. In Exodus, he told the Hebrews to build him a tabernacle so he can live among us. And the first chapter in John also says that God lived among us. But the birth of Jesus is still God living among us, but it has a different quality as well. It's not just God far away, but it's God with us, God as one of us. Again, I'll give you I'll say it to you like a parable, two things that I can relate to as a millennial. And something else that I can relate to is video games. And I remember when I was little, me and my brothers used to play video games. And that was something that we did. The grown-ups didn't do it. But then, one day, I saw my dad come and join us. And he played video games with us. And I thought that was really amazing because, I mean, if you think about it, it's like a grown-up doing something that children do. Or like if you think about, like maybe your dad deciding to play catch with you for the first time. How did that feel? It's kind of like they're coming to visit you in your world. But not only that, it also says that what you're doing, they approve of it. They approve of it. And they uphold it. Now, I'm not trying to say that video games are good, but it's just an example of what Jesus becoming human, of what God becoming human means. When God became human, he didn't only live among us. He didn't only give us evidence that he can do that, but it uplifted humanity to another level. It glorified humanity. And he took that message to his death and to his resurrection. When he resurrected, it gave evidence that all of humanity can be with him.